Hi, this is Russ Andersson. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about native 360 VR solving, where there's no conversion from a 360 VR image to a conventional linear image. Instead, the solver is going to be using and processing data in all directions simultaneously. And that's great because you don't have to animate the viewing direction at all to follow the trackable portion of the image. And also your trackers can have long lifetimes so that you avoid issues with drift over the course of a long shot. So here we have a shot from 360 Rise, and you'll notice that it's set up in a 360 VR present mode, which is important. And that does happen automatically for shots that have an aspect ratio of exactly 2. So we'll just quickly scrub through it, and you'll notice that the camera is mounted on a boom at the front of the ultralight. And we're going to need to just mask out the ultralight for tracking. You don't want to have anything that's tracking the vehicle that's holding the camera. You want to be tracking just the background. So this kind of masking can be very kind of quick and dirty. So here we're just going to go and create a circle that goes around the ultralight. And if I scrub through it, you can see it stays within the circle there. So other things that you're going to need to mask out are typically the clouds and sky in the background. We'll do that here just with a rectangle. So the clouds can be moving, and they're typically far away, so they're not really contributing any useful trackable information. So we've got a rectangle to mask those out as well. And if you had any actors in the scene, you'd want to be masking them out, as well as anything that's moving a bit, especially trees that can be blowing in the wind a little bit, vehicles that are driving around in the background, basically anything that's not rigidly connected to the background, because we're tracking the entire background as one rigid unit. So we've got that set up here. So now we're going to make a couple quick adjustments here on the advanced panel just to set up the number of trackers per frame. We'll bring that up around 100. Typically these kind of shots do have a whole lot of density to them because they're looking in all kinds of different directions. And we do want to be able to pick up a good number of features. So we'll just run that number up a bunch, and we'll run up the maximum tracker count a bit also. Numbers don't really matter a whole lot. And now we can go over to the summary panel and we'll fire up the auto tracker. One thing to notice is that it's working on just this 2D image here. It's not a 360 VR image processing operation, so that it's not really going to pick up much around the poles here at the very north and south of the image. So if you had a UAV that's high in the air and all the trackable features are in a very low, small region at the bottom, you might actually want to use the SynthEyes image preprocessor to rotate the imagery to bring that trackable portion into the middle of the image so that the 2D image processing code can work effectively on it. So that's, that'll make that part of it go well, and it won't really affect anything subsequently where you can rotate that back. So now we can go and just scrub through and take a look at what we have in the features. And, you're looking for things that, are right around the edges of our matted regions here to make sure there's nothing that's just snuck in there close to the edge, because we didn't do the matting with any degree of accuracy at all. So you want to look through and just make sure that things are sane, that there's nothing else in there that shouldn't be in there. And for this shot it's straightforward enough. Looks good. So now we can just go and run the solver. So now it's actually doing the 3D solving process, running through and figuring out where everything is in 3D, where the camera went in 3D. So you can see that process going on up here. And soon enough, we get a result from that. So, you can look at the figure emerged up there. It's reasonably good. And I will point out that the error numbers on 360 VR shots are typically higher due to the, the stitching and camera asynchrony issues that you typically have with 360 VR. But so here's our solve. You can see there's stuff in all directions. If we go and zoom in on this, you'll see we have, of course, a lot more features right in the area of the camera going right underneath. And you'll notice that we've got features in the area near the the image of the UAV there. They're just not being tracked into that area, but of course the 3D features may still wind up in that area later on in the shot. So those masks are really just affecting where you're looking in 2D, not in 3D. So at this point, we'd like to set up a coordinate system. So if we picked out a couple of features on the ground, we could set up a coordinate system that would make sense so that we get the up direction going up. In this particular case, we've got a valley. We'd have to work a little to decide really what's flat and level to be able to use as a reference. So we're going to do something else. We're just going to go over here to the 3D panel and turn on the whole button. And that's going to let us just adjust the entire scene. So you see I'm just rotating it. I'm taking a look at the whole point cloud there. And I'll also look here at the UAV. Here it's pretty level with respect to the background, pretty much. So let's just use that to also help decide what should be level, maybe. So I'm just going to kind of wing something there, and so I haven't really changed anything yet. Now I'm going to go and do a stabilization from the camera path, and that's going to go and update the image itself. You'll see it's going and recalculating the image. So I can start scrubbing through the beginning of that. We'll just let it work its way through. And now here's the stabilized version of the shot. So you can just play through. And you see now we've got a nice stabilized version. So at this point we could go and look at doing, inserting 3D objects, buildings, or whatever else into the scene that we want to have. But we've got something that's a lot more watchable and a lot more stable than we had initially. So I'll point out also, this is camera tracking here. The native 360 VR solving also accommodates object tracking and tripod tracking, just like the solver does with regular conventional shots. So if we had a truck driving by in our 360 VR shot, we could go and generate a track of that truck as well, just like we could in a regular shot. So the solver is really quite powerful in that, and the 360 VR capabilities are integrated into that. And you notice that the solver didn't have to be told, anything else aside from the fact that this is a 360 VR shot, which it knows already from the initial setup of the shot. So this feature has no additional user interface in the solver. There's none necessary. It just does all the stuff it regularly does, but it does it starting from the 360 VR shots. So hope you enjoyed this and find that this is a really powerful capability. Thanks for watching.